This is Locked On's 2025 NFL Top 100 Players, as voted on by the local hosts of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the release of the Locked On Podcast Network's NFL Top 100 Players presented by Monarch Money. I'm Peter Bukowski, host of Locked On Sports Today, and over the next hour, we will reveal the list, get insights from our local hosts, and make several fan bases angry, at least. Over the past several weeks, our stable of local and national NFL hosts have been voting for the players they feel have earned spots on this list. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Now, we do things a little differently around here. We start with the best. The number one NFL player for 2025 is Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson, the 2023 MVP and a polarizing MVP runner-up last season with the best statistical passing season of his career. For more on the dominance of Lamar Jackson and why he landed the top spot on our list, Locked On Ravens host Kevin Ostreicher.
It is about time Lamar Jackson gets some recognition for his 2024 season. I'm Kevin Ostreicher, the host of Locked On Ravens. Lamar Jackson is the best player in the NFL and is the top-ranked player in the NFL for a multitude of different reasons. Lamar's 2024 included 5,000 total yards. He also had 41 touchdowns through the air compared to just 4 interceptions. And if you want to include his 4 rushing touchdowns, it puts him at 45 total touchdowns. He was the first player in NFL history to have over 4,000 passing yards and over 900 rushing yards. And he also had a touchdown percentage of 8.6%, which is 6th all time since the NFL completed the merger back in 1970. Josh Allen had a great year. He won the MVP. Patrick Mahomes, he has the rings, but Lamar Jackson, to me, is better than both of those guys right now. And since Josh Allen won the MVP and Saquon Barkley won the Offensive Player of the Year, there was no recognition for Lamar Jackson. I know there was potentially some voter fatigue in the MVP vote. There's no voter fatigue here, though, for Lamar Jackson. Very well deserved for Lamar. So for more on the Ravens and Lamar Jackson, be sure you check out Locked On Ravens on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast.
Don't worry, Chiefs fans. You're not going to have to wait much longer. Patrick Mahomes checks in at number 2, the 3-time Super Bowl champion, and I think still the quarterback most of us on the Locked On Podcast Network and most NFL fans would pick if we needed to play a football game for the future of the universe. If the aliens came, Patrick Mahomes, probably the quarterback. And if it's not Patrick Mahomes, maybe it's the number 3 player on our list, Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen, who is, as Kevin mentioned, the reigning NFL MVP. For more on why Josh Allen is behind Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, here's Locked On Bills host Joe Marino.
I hate to say it, but we absolutely got it wrong. I'm Joe Marino, host of Locked On Bills, and Josh Allen deserved to be the number 1 quarterback and player on the top 100 list. Why? Well, no player in NFL history has produced more scoring than Josh Allen. Josh Allen averages the most touchdowns per game of any player in NFL history, and he's posted 5 consecutive 40-touchdown seasons. No other player has posted more than 2 in a row, and the turnover narrative has been shattered. In his 2024 MVP campaign, Josh Allen produced the greatest season in NFL history for the lowest percentage of plays that resulted in an interception, sack, or fumble. Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes are elite NFL players, tier 1 for sure. But Lamar Jackson continues to be pedestrian at best in the playoffs when his team needs him to be at his best, and that's our number 1 player. And speaking of pedestrian, that's exactly what the Chiefs' offense has been over the last 2 seasons, with Mahomes engineering the number 15 scoring offense in 2023 and 2024. From my understanding, this isn't a legacy list. For more on the Bills, subscribe to Locked On Bills wherever you get your podcast.
Our first defensive player checks in on the list at number 4, Cleveland Browns pass rush monster Myles Garrett. The 2023 Defensive Player of the Year has had 14 or more sacks in each of his last 4 seasons. Oh, and he just got absolutely paid by Cleveland. Speaking of getting absolutely paid, everybody in Cincinnati right now, extremely well paid, at least the best players on that offense, starting with our number 5 player, Joe Burrow. The team success hasn't quite been there for Burrow, at least last year. But last year, he was the first quarterback since the merger to lose 3 games when he threw for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions. One of the guys who helped him do that coming up in just a second on the list. But first, number 6, Justin Jefferson, the Minnesota Vikings receiver extraordinaire. He is the career leader in yards per game, 96.5 yards per game, the all-time leader in NFL history. I mentioned you wouldn't have to wait long. Jamar Chase in at number 7, coming off a Triple Crown receiving season. You could flip-flop 6 and 7, I'm sure, no problem. Well, maybe Bengals fans, Vikings fans would have something to say about that. Another defensive player checks in at 8, Micah Parsons, the Dallas Cowboys pass rusher 3 times, an all-pro. And remember, came into the league as an off-ball linebacker and almost on a lark became one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. And we couldn't go too far down the list with defensive players especially and not have Patrick Surtain II on the list. He checks in at number 9, the 2024 reigning Defensive Player of the Year and consensus by far the highest rated corner on this list. Maybe the only shutdown corner in the NFL currently going at number 10. Running backs still matter a little bit. Saquon Barkley, the reigning 2024 Offensive Player of the Year, leaves the rival New York Giants, goes to Philadelphia, has one of the great running back seasons, wins a Super Bowl. It's a tough one for Giants fans, to be sure. And at least as of this moment, another pass rusher with a grudge right now. TJ Watt, the 2021 Defensive Player of the Year, hoping to get paid in Pittsburgh. And he has been one of the sack masters in the NFL, essentially since he walked into the league in Pittsburgh. Chris Jones, Kansas City Chiefs defensive tackle, checks in at number 12. Been an all-pro, first team each of the last 3 seasons. And if you're ranking the most important players of the Kansas City Chiefs dynastic run here, Patrick Mahomes, number 1. I think you can make a strong case Chris Jones belongs at number 2. And when they're not throwing passes to him, he is blocking everybody into the ground. The Detroit Lions tackle Penei Sewell, a monster of a man, checks in. And yes, they had some trick plays for him. They worked to varying success last year. We'll see Ben Johnson in Chicago if the new offensive coordinator in Detroit has something for one of the 100 weapons in that offense. Derrick Henry checks in at 14. The ageless wonder, apparently. Forced 89 missed tackles last year, according to Pro Football Focus. That led the league when he signed in Baltimore. And he did not do that for a lot of money. There were questions. I'm not going to name any names, but maybe from me included, about how much he had left. He was spectacular last season. Sticking in the AFC with playmakers, defensive end Max Crosby, who just doesn't come off the field for the Raiders, and unfortunately has toiled on some pretty mediocre to bad teams, but he is one of the best defensive players in the league. Our 16th player, not only is he one of the most explosive players in the league, but you might be wondering what he's reading on the sidelines. A.J. Brown, Philadelphia Eagles receiver, one of the key acquisitions in this Howie Roseman run going back to 2022. Getting A.J. Brown in that draft day trade has fundamentally changed this offense in Philadelphia. At 17, the 2022 Defensive Player of the Year, Nick Bosa, checks in. That 49ers defense fell off a little bit last year, but since he came into the league, the number 2 overall pick, Nick Bosa, has been one of the most dynamic, one of the most thorn in the sides of quarterbacks, pass rushers in the NFL. At 18, one of the best guys at preventing guys like Nick Bosa from hitting his quarterback, Lane Johnson. Did not give up a sack on the right side of that Philadelphia Eagles offensive line in 2024. Just one quarterback hit attributed to Lane Johnson, still one of the best doing it. At 19, CeeDee Lamb, Dallas Cowboys receiver. And look, it was not the best year for the Dallas Cowboys last year, but CeeDee Lamb in 2023 was phenomenal. Dak Prescott gets hurt in 2024. I expect CeeDee Lamb to bounce back in a big way in 2025. Where is the 20th player on our list going to play this season? Is it going to be in Cincinnati? Is Trey Hendrickson, the pass rusher who led the NFL in sacks last year, going to be in Cincinnati? Is he going to get paid? Well, he's going to be 20th on our list. I know that for sure. Coming up, who will be the first tight end to appear on the list, plus the up-and-coming quarterback that might jump several spots after another solid year. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. We've got plenty more here on the Locked On NFL Top 100 for 2025. We pick back up at 21 with Tristan Wirfs, who we just found out is going to miss a couple games to start the 2025 season. But it doesn't matter if he's a left tackle, if he's a right tackle, he's one of the best in the game. And still one of the best in the game, probably the best in the game at his position right now. George Kittle, he is the best blocking tight end in the league, the best run after catch tight end in the league, probably just the best tight end in the league. For more on the first tight end to appear on the list and why Kittle belongs over Christian McCaffrey for San Francisco, here's Locked On 49ers host Brian Peacock.
Kudos to my Locked On colleagues because they got this one right. I am Brian Peacock, co-host of Locked On 49ers, and yes, George Kittle is the best tight end in the NFL, and yes, he's actually the most valuable skill position guy on the San Francisco 49ers, even ahead of Christian McCaffrey. In fact, my esteemed co-host Eric Crocker and I, when we put our list together of top 10 San Francisco 49ers and our nominations for the top 100 list, we actually had George Kittle number one, even ahead of Nick Bosa and ahead of Fred Warner. George Kittle, we know how good he is. We know what kind of a receiver he is. We know what kind of a blocker he is, the best in the NFL. But he's a heart and soul player for the San Francisco 49ers. And when comparing him to someone like Christian McCaffrey specifically, look, the 49ers still ran the ball 5 yards per carry clip in Kyle Shanahan's offense with Jordan Mason. In fact, little nugget here, Jordan Mason actually has a higher career yards per carry than Christian McCaffrey does. Now, McCaffrey brings a lot to the passing game, but so does George Kittle. Such a great football player, heart and soul of the San Francisco 49ers, and also hasn't missed most or all of 3 of the last 5 seasons. George Kittle, easy top 100 player in the NFL. You can't put him too high. For more on the San Francisco 49ers, subscribe to Locked On 49ers on YouTube and anywhere you get your podcasts.
Next up at 23, Derek Stingley Jr., the Houston Texans cornerback. And if there is a player who has a chance to get into that conversation with Patrick Surtain as the best corner in the league, the premier shutdown corner in the league, it is the Texans' rising star on the boundary. At 24, Fred Warner, probably the only linebacker in the NFL who truly tilts the field every single season. And that defense was not as good last year in San Francisco. It was not Fred Warner's fault. Do not blame Fred Warner. He is still the guy, the measuring stick player as an off-ball linebacker in the NFL. At 25, Tyreek Hill still can absolutely fly. The numbers have not been as dominant as they used to be. Patrick Mahomes, not his quarterback anymore, but he is still as scary a football player as there exists in the league. When he has the ball in his hands, he has the kind of ability that makes every defense go, oh no, we're in big trouble. At 26, Kyle Hamilton is the, oh no, we're in big trouble guy. When you're in trouble, if you're Baltimore, you just throw Kyle Hamilton at the problem. Oh, you need a slot corner? Oh, he can do that. Oh, you need a safety, deep safety? He can do that. Play the middle of the field? He can do that. He can do everything for this Baltimore Ravens defense, and they let him. At 27, Creed Humphrey, he does one thing. He does it really, really well. He is the center for the Kansas City Chiefs, and since he walked into the NFL, has been the best center in the league. Since he was drafted in 2021, has been the best center in football. At 28, Sauce Gardner, cornerback from the New York Jets. And if I'd have told you a year or two ago he was this far down the list, you probably would have been pretty surprised. But he did not have the kind of season last year that we are used to seeing from Sauce, who was one of the premier players at his position, also from the word go, when he was drafted in 2022. We'll see if a fresh start in New York, new coaching staff, new administration, if they can get Sauce squared away, because we know what the upside is there. At 29, one of the best stories in the NFL. Former 7th-round pick Jordan Mailata goes from a 2018 also ran draft selection, someone who is new to the game, to one of the best players at his position, one of the best players, period, in football, part of that dominant Philadelphia Eagles offensive line. At 30, a player who I think has the chance to be top 10, top 15 kind of level when we do this exercise again in a year. Aiden Hutchinson, Detroit Lions pass rusher. He was so good to start the season last year. He was still among league leaders in pressures and pressure rate when snow came. Hopefully he can get back after that gruesome broken leg injury. He can get back on track in 2025. At 31, Jayden Daniels probably glad that Aiden Hutchinson was not on the field in that playoff win, that surprise Cinderella run for the Commanders to the NFC Championship game. He was the offensive rookie of the year last year. For more on how high Jayden Daniels could climb on this list with one more year under his belt, here's Locked On Commanders host David Harrison.
Jayden Daniels is already a star now in 2025. It's time for him to become a superstar. I'm David Harrison of the Locked On Commanders podcast, and Daniels is entering his second NFL season ranked 31st overall, the 6th highest ranked quarterback in our Locked On NFL Top 100 after winning the Offensive Rookie of the Year award in 2024. Now, with 5 primetime games and 10 national broadcast games in 2025, yeah, some of them are cupcake games like Week 2 in Green Bay, but still, Daniels is going to have every opportunity to showcase his talents. Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes both won the NFL MVP award in their second NFL seasons. Jayden Daniels has the poise, the system, and now the spotlight to be the third among this top 6 quarterback group. And I wouldn't be shocked if he breaks into the top 5 as early as 2026. For more on the Commanders, subscribe to Locked On Commanders on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
That cupcake shot at the Packers was directed at me personally. And I take it personally, David. How dare you? At 32, Amon-Ra St. Brown, receiver for the Detroit Lions. He is their target getter, their bucket getter. On third down, it is third and Amon-Ra St. Brown in Detroit. We'll see, new offense, how his role evolves with a Lions team that hopes to be a Super Bowl contender in 2025. At 33, maybe the biggest guy on this list, Dexter Lawrence, an unbelievable pass rusher for a guy his size, a nose tackle who can truly affect the game in every possible way. You add Abdul Carter to that group. Oh my goodness, they are going to be scary for opposing quarterbacks in the NFC East. Bijan Robinson, running back for the Atlanta Falcons, checks in at 34. Again, this question about running back value comes up over and over. He has been one of the most productive running backs in the NFL since the Falcons made him one of the top picks in his draft class. At 35, speaking of one of the top picks in his draft class, Jalen Carter. The Eagles able to steal him thanks to some off-field question marks in the pre-draft process for Jalen Carter, and he has been as advertised on the football field. Absolutely breaking out last year, a game-changing player for the best defense in the NFL a season ago. At 36, a guy with some new digs, a new home this year in Washington, Laremy Tunsil, former longtime Houston Texans offensive tackle, now going to be protecting Jayden Daniels. So in the AFC to NFC swap, does he now have a better chance to compete? I guess we will see. He's going to have to beat this guy if he wants to do it. 37, Jahmyr Gibbs, the running back, led the league in rushing touchdowns last season. The Sonic to David Montgomery's Knuckles. He is one half of the best running back duo in the NFL and one of the best, frankly, we've seen in a long time. At 38, an unbelievable rookie season. If not for Jayden Daniels, unreal and bravura performance as a rookie Brock Bowers would have been the runaway offensive rookie of the year. 100-catch, 1,000-yard season for a tight end as a rookie. That doesn't happen. He was someone that came into the NFL draft with that question of positional value, tight end. How good can he be? How much can he carry your offense? Well, the answer is he can be everything for your offense. At 39, Justin Herbert, LA Chargers. I bet he could throw a football over the mountains. I love a Napoleon Dynamite reference. I hope you do too. At 40, Matthew Stafford, just behind him, the other LA quarterback, the 2021 Super Bowl winner, 2023 Pro Bowler, and the offseason drama king, I guess. I don't know what happened with that quarterback contract situation, but he's back in LA. Sean McVay is too, and they are poised to make a run in the NFC. Speaking of an NFC run, Jalen Hurts won the Super Bowl with the Eagles, but not the votes. Here, we dive into why he's in the middle of our list. That's next. Pressing on the Locked On NFL Top 100 for 2025. We pick back up a little old guy run here at 41. Trent Williams, the left tackle for the San Francisco 49ers, just continually the best player at his position in the league. He's 36 years old, born in 1988, which just makes me feel old. But he's still one of the best players at his position. And Cam Heyward at 42 on this list, doing the same thing. These guys just showing out for the old guys, at least in the NFL by old guy standards, in their mid to late 30s and still dominating in the trenches. The flip side of that, he's young. He's a pretty boy. He's a wide receiver. Puka Nacua at 43. LA able to move on from Cooper Kupp, and no one really bats an eye because we know they have Puka Nacua waiting to pick up the mantle. The Rams add Devontae Adams, who may or may not make this list a bit later. And everyone knows Puka Nacua is still wide receiver one. That's how good Puka is. At 44, Christian McCaffrey. If we'd have done this vote a year or two ago, he would have been much higher. Injuries derailed him last year. The San Francisco had a nightmare season. Christian McCaffrey, if he stays healthy this year, he could bolt up this list for 2026. At 45, it is your league leader in interceptions, one of the best defensive players on one of the best teams in the NFL, Kirby Joseph. Yes, opposing fans do not like him. NFC North fans, in fact, hate him. It seems like some other players, not a big fan of Kirby Joseph, but he is unquestionably one of the best players in the league. At 46, he's here. He won a Super Bowl. He's Jalen Hurts. And Eagles fans are going to say, hey, he belongs higher up this list. And if you're fans of some other quarterbacks who have not yet been mentioned, I won't say any names. You're going, what the heck? How is he here and not my guy? Anyone could do that on that roster. Well, for more on why Jalen Hurts appears after many of his offensive counterparts, here's Locked On Eagles host Louis DiBiase.
I think we have to start putting more respect on the name of Jalen Hurts. I'm Louis DiBiase, host of the Locked On Eagles podcast. Jalen Hurts coming in at number 46 on our Locked On NFL Top 100 list. I think that's way too low for the Super Bowl MVP who has outplayed Patrick Mahomes in 2 of the last 3 Super Bowls. I think he's kind of getting punished for having such a star-studded offense that obviously takes a lot of the load off his plate, but we have to add context to what Jalen Hurts has done. Eventually, on-field results have to matter. This guy has shown an elite ceiling. He was an MVP runner-up in 2022 when the Chiefs dared him to beat them in the Super Bowl. When they took out Saquon Barkley, he threw for over 200 yards, had 3 touchdowns, including 2 through the air. Jalen steps up when the games matter the most, like the NFC Championship, like the Super Bowl. I think eventually that has to matter more than it does on this list. I'm not even saying he's a top 4 quarterback, but number 46 I think is too low for the MVP of the Super Bowl.
At 47, another chip on his shoulder, Oklahoma quarterback, Baker Mayfield. He led the league in interceptions last year, but also threw 41 touchdowns while completing over 70% of his passes. And that offense was electric last season. If they're going to win in 2025, it's going to be because Baker Mayfield leads them there. At 48, no, that's not how old he is. Calais Campbell is 38 years old and has just been reliably one of the best defensive players, one of the best defensive linemen in the league, pretty much his whole career. And if he were released tomorrow, half the league would want to sign him because he's just a great locker room player. He's going to block field goals for you if you want. And he's still doing it, still going strong. At 49, running back Alvin Kamara, New Orleans Saints. And look, this is not the Drew Brees offense, Jimmy Graham, all those players, high flying. Alvin Kamara is going to have to be the heartbeat of this offense moving forward, and he is still capable of doing it. At 50, cornerback Charvarius Ward won a Super Bowl with the Chiefs, then goes to San Francisco, couldn't beat the Chiefs in San Francisco. Now he finds himself in Indianapolis, trying again to chase Mahomes and the Chiefs. At 51, still teammates with Patrick Mahomes, Trent McDuffie, one of the most versatile cornerbacks in the league, can play inside, can play outside, and makes life easy for Steve Spagnuolo to scheme up all of those crazy blitzes. At 52, guard Chris Lindstrom kicks off a little bit of an offensive line run here. It was sort of like everyone was voting and going, oh, I got to get some offensive linemen in here. Chris Lindstrom, one of the best guards in the league for the Atlanta Falcons. They're going to need to protect Michael Penix, who has a history of injuries, coming off a performance at the end of the season that had Falcons fans excited about what is to come in Atlanta. At 53, Christian Darrisaw, left tackle for the Minnesota Vikings. He's going to be protecting J.J. McCarthy's blind side coming up this season. At 54, another offensive lineman in the NFC North, Joe Thuney. New home in the Midwest, still one of the best interior offensive linemen in the game now. Caleb Williams is the guy he's going to be looking after he was a personal protector for Patrick Mahomes. Ever heard of him? At 55, Jeffrey Simmons, defensive tackle from the Tennessee Titans, a 3-time Pro Bowler and one of the more overlooked players in the league, in part because he plays in Tennessee. The Titans have not been a particularly relevant franchise over the last few seasons. Sorry, Tyler Rowland, just the truth. Jeffrey Simmons, though, is a scary, dominant football player in the interior. Quentin Nelson, told you we had a little offensive line run going here. At 56, guard for the Indianapolis Colts, has been, since he entered the league, that guy. Dominant, powerful, fun to watch. One of the only offensive linemen in the league who has Twitter highlights. Quentin Nelson at 56. At 57, speaking of walking into the league in a man's league and dominating, Jared Verse, the defensive rookie of the year last year for the LA Rams, was phenomenal in that playoff game against the Philadelphia Eagles, almost single-handedly keeping the Rams in the game until Matthew Stafford tried to make some magic late. Verse, one of the ascending players, one of defensive rookie of the year last year, potential defensive player of the year in his career. He's got that sort of trajectory. Another quarterback, 58, CJ Stroud, rookie of the year in 2023. The offense fell apart a little bit last year. That got Bobby Slowick fired in the offseason, but they retooled this offense around Nico Collins and a host of receiver draft picks. We'll see if Stroud can push his way up this list in 2025. At 59, a bit of a surprise, 5th overall pick a few seasons ago, but he has become an integral part of the Seattle Seahawks defense. That's Devon Witherspoon. He may not be huge, but he will stick you. He is incredibly fun to watch. And at 60, Zach Bond, linebacker for the Philadelphia Eagles, from a cast-off free agent signing, a signing that most of us did not think twice about. He comes in and has an all-pro season for the Eagles, wins a Super Bowl, and then cashes in on a new free agent deal. Good for Zach Bond. A great story. Coming up, we have a kicker enter the chat before his starting quarterback. Guys, things are getting spicy. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. Breaking through the second half of our Locked On NFL Top 100 for 2025. We're on 61, and that is Houston Texans receiver Nico Collins. CJ Stroud, number one target, has become one of the true alpha number one receivers in the NFL. If he can get to that Jamar Chase kind of level, maybe that is the thing that can elevate the Texans. Quinnen Williams, New York Jets defensive tackle, checks in at 62, and it was a Jets team that probably would like to forget a lot of what happened last year, but Quinnen Williams is still one of the most disruptive interior defenders in the NFL. Aaron Glenn comes in. Maybe that is the spark to get Quinnen Williams back in the all-pro type conversation. At 63, Rashawn Slater, protector for Justin Herbert in LA. They add Joe Alt. Those two have the chance to be the tackle duo in the NFL. At 64, coming off the rarely seen 100-catch tight end season, although we did already have one on the list, Trey McBride, Arizona Cardinals tight end. Here, Kyler Murray has Marvin Harrison Jr. He's got Trey McBride. Fantasy football offense could be really good. Let's see if the real offense in the NFL can be really good too. At 65, Christian Gonzalez, cornerback for the New England Patriots. He fell in the 2023 draft for reasons that are still unclear, and he has turned into one of the best cover corners in the NFL. At 66, Will Anderson Jr., the Texans traded up to get him, and he has lived up to that billing. Was a phenomenal player at Alabama, racked up all of the sacks, all of the TFLs, and is now DeMeco Ryans' star pupil in Houston. At 67, we have a player who has not played a snap in the NFL. Travis Hunter. Is he a receiver? Is he corner? Is he part of one of the most shocking trades in NFL history? Yes. Yes to all. And we'll see if he can live up to the hype in 2025 at 68. And in my estimation, probably 20 spots too low. Jordan Love, the Green Bay Packers, they go from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers to now Jordan Love, who has not played quite at that level. He's not a multi-time MVP yet. But since he's been in the league, he has played and produced like a top 10 quarterback. By the way, he deserves to be higher. And so does number 69 on this list, Mike Evans. 11 straight 1,000-yard seasons to start his career, and I guess he's just going to go down as the most underrated receiver in NFL history. All he does is produce and does not get the accolades for it for whatever reason. At 70, guard Quinn Miners, the big uglies, get some more love here. Quinn Miners just looks like an offensive lineman. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just Google it. Google it. Meinerz. Go look. He looks like an offensive lineman. At 71, Elton Jenkins, Green Bay Packers, was a guard, now is going to play center, currently in the midst of some contract negotiations. He would like to get a little bit more security. And he has been a left tackle. He's been a right tackle. He's been a left guard. He's played center. He's played all over the offensive line for the Green Bay Packers. At 72, the 2016 Defensive Player of the Year, but still playing at a Pro Bowl level, Khalil Mack has been a Pro Bowler in each of the last season for the Bolts. He is still a disruptive pass rusher, and I think he's got more seasons left. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't. He is a freak of nature. And speaking of freaks of nature, Brian Burns, New York Giants pass rusher, they gave up a lot to get him, and they're going to be expecting Burns, Lawrence, Abdul Carter, that group, to lead their football team in 2025. One of the most impactful free agent signings last season, Xavier McKinney checks in at 74. First team All-Pro in his first season with the Green Bay Packers, and they put together one of the best defensive seasons of the last few years for the Green Bay Packers, probably the best defense of the Matt LaFleur era in Green Bay. At 75, J.C. Horn got the bag, former top 10 pick, a cornerback who will get in your face, play physical, and don't forget about him just because he plays in Carolina. And that team maybe has a chance to surprise some people this season in a wide open NFC South. At 76, hold on to your butts. Brandon Aubrey is the pick here at 76, a kicker. And not just any kicker, the kicker on the team of the quarterback who is not yet on our list. For more on how Brandon Aubrey makes this list over Dak Prescott, here's Locked On Cowboys host Landon McCool.
Brandon Aubrey being ranked above Dak Prescott is about disrespect for Dak Prescott, but that doesn't mean that Brandon Aubrey isn't a great kicker. Hi, I'm Landon McCool with the Locked On Cowboys podcast, and the Dallas Cowboys knew that they had found something when they got Brandon Aubrey early on, and he has rewarded them, plucking him from the USFL ranks with going 42 of 47 from kicks beyond 40 yards. And that includes going 24 of 27 and 50 yards and beyond kicks. He's also great on kickoffs. And really a great locker room guy. It's unfortunate that the kind of headline here is going to be about him being ranked above his highly discussed quarterback who is being disrespected here. But I think Brandon Aubrey is an incredible kicker, one of the best in the NFL, and deserves his high ranking on this list.
We'll see where Dak Prescott actually checks in on the list in a to be determined amount of time. I guess we'll see. At 77, Bobby Wagner at 35 years old and still bringing the fire at linebacker. A resurgent season in a lot of ways last year. And we'll see if he can help lead the Commanders to their first Super Bowl title in a long, long time in 2025. And he'll need some help from Terry McLaurin to get their number 78. Jayden Daniels, number one target, and someone who, coming out of Ohio State, was not seen as a number one receiver and has proved it year after year with a group of quarterbacks, by the way, that were not the best. If anyone deserves a quarterback like Jayden Daniels, Terry McLaurin is one of those guys. At 79, Garrett Wilson probably thinks he deserves an opportunity with a quarterback too. Did not seem super happy with what was going on with Aaron Rodgers last year. And for his troubles, this year he'll get Justin Fields. So good luck, I guess, Garrett. At 80, Antoine Winfield Jr., maybe the shortest guy on this list. Just like his dad, a ferocious competitor, a versatile playmaker, can play anywhere on the defense for Todd Bowles. And Todd Bowles is like, okay, cool. We'll play you anywhere then. Coming up, we've got a blank space, and we write in Travis Kelce's name. Is your favorite player going to land on the Locked On NFL Top 100 Players for 2025? Well, we don't have that many slots left. 81, Christian Benford, Buffalo Bills cornerback. And this is a name that if you don't know it, you better get to know it. The Bills have needed cornerback help. Benford has been that guy. In fact, the only problem with Christian Benford for the Buffalo Bills is they don't have two of him, because that would be nice. It really would. At 82, Jared Goff checks in 3 straight 4,000-yard seasons for the Detroit Lions. He has been the perfect quarterback for Ben Johnson's offense. Now Ben Johnson in Chicago, so Jared Goff, a lot of pressure on him to keep it going, but one of the rare win-win trades. He goes from LA to Detroit. LA wins the Super Bowl. Jared Goff brings stability to this Lions team. It's a great NFL story. At 83, Chris Olave, receiver for the New Orleans Saints. And I just want him to stay healthy. Just stay on the field, because when he is healthy, he is a dynamic football player. The body control along the sidelines, the ability to get deep, he has it. And I hope he can stay healthy. Speaking of staying healthy, Denzel Ward at 84, a slight corner, but a former superstar Ohio State corner, gets to stay in the state of Ohio in Cleveland. This defense is going to have to do all the heavy lifting this year because the quarterback situation very much in flux in Cleveland. Denzel Ward is still a very, very good corner. We made it. 85, it's Taylor Swift's boyfriend, Travis Kelce. He's not the 1,000-yard guy that he used to be. He's not the dominant offensive weapon, but on 3rd and 6, on 3rd and 8, he can still get you that bucket. And for the Kansas City Chiefs, his play, his connection with Patrick Mahomes is an essential piece of their offense. At 86, Leo Williams, who gets traded to Seattle, plays for Mike McDonald, and has a renaissance as a Seahawk. Made his first Pro Bowl since 2016 last season. At 87, safety Derwin James, someone who came into the league, set the league on fire, looked like he was going to be one of the playmakers in the NFL on defense, has, for a number of reasons, injuries, some schematic weirdness, Brandon Staley involved, was not able to sustain it, but now with Jesse Minter, with Jim Harbaugh in LA, I think he's got a chance to fly up these rankings once again. At 88, another guy with a chance to fly up these rankings because, in part, he can fly. Drake London, he will leap over you to make a catch if he has to. Michael Penix is going to be throwing moon balls all over the field to Drake London. I'm telling you, if he stays healthy, he will be 15, 20 spots higher on these lists in 2026. At 89, I think people might have forgotten how good Roquan Smith is. 3 straight all-pro seasons, and in 2024, he was not as good as he was in 2023 when he was outrageous, when he was unbelievable, and he was the best off-ball linebacker in the NFL. He is still one of the true difference makers at off-ball linebacker, and there are maybe 4 in the whole league. What have we had? 2 on this list. See? At 90, Jonathan Grenard, 24 and a half sacks over the last 2 seasons combined. He in Minnesota, Brian Flores wants to dial up pressure. He can manufacture pressure, but Jonathan Grenard is the kind of player where you don't have to manufacture anything. He can just go win and pressure the quarterback for you. 1v1, me versus you. At 91, Andrew Thomas, offensive tackle for the New York Giants. It's not a very good offensive line for the New York Giants, but Andrew Thomas is an elite player, one of the best tackles in the game. Injuries have held him back from solidifying that with consistent high-level play over the last few seasons. But if he's healthy, he is one of the best doing it. At 92, another player. If this player is in the top 30 a year from now, I won't be surprised. Malik Neighbors was sensational as a rookie. Sensational, just like we thought he would be. It looked like the guy we saw at LSU. For more on how Malik Neighbors' ceiling will be affected by the Giants' quarterback play, though, here's Locked On Giants host Patricia Traina.
New York Giants receiver Malik Neighbors was pretty impressive in 2024, his rookie season. But in order to truly appreciate how impressive he really was, you have to dig beyond his stat line. I'm Patricia Traina, host of the Locked On Giants podcast, and Neighbors, ranked number 92 by the Locked On NFL hosts, turned out to be the most exciting rookie to burst onto the scene in East Rutherford since Odell Beckham Jr., another LSU product, did so in 2014. Neighbors set the Giants' single-season franchise record for receptions with 109, surpassing the previous record set in 2009 of 107 by Steve Smith. Neighbors also broke the Giants' rookie reception record of 91, previously held by Odell Beckham Jr. and Saquon Barkley. But what's particularly impressive about Neighbors' rookie year accomplishments is that he reached those milestones despite missing 2 games and despite catching passes from 4 different quarterbacks, none of whom were steady enough to truly take advantage of Neighbors' deep ball speed. With the Giants having upgraded the quarterback position this offseason with moonball specialist Russell Wilson, Neighbors is poised to add to his growing highlights reel with some receptions down the field, which is something the Giants offense has been missing since the days of Beckham. For more on the New York Giants, please subscribe to the Locked On Giants podcast on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
At 93, it's finally time. It's finally time for Dak Prescott. He looked like he was going to be the MVP about Christmas time, 2023. Couldn't hang on. Then the Packers roll the Cowboys in the playoffs, and it's kind of been how Dak Prescott's career has gone. But he is one of the true signal callers in the NFL. Run the play. He doesn't have to dance. Just drop back, throw the ball to the right guy. He is one of the true operators at the position in the NFL. At 94, a player we haven't seen since 2023, Bradley Chubb, pass rusher for the Miami Dolphins, has that torn ACL, missed all of 2024, but the last time we saw him in 2023, an 11-sack season. He needs to get back to playing that way for the Dolphins to get to where they want to get to in 2025. Another corner for the Seattle Seahawks hits the list here. Tariq Woolen at number 95. He is a freak of nature, size, speed, outrageous player. For a player his size to be able to move like he does, it's just not fair. And this defense in the second half of last year really found something with Mike Macdonald and that scheme change, the new administration coming in. He has a chance to elevate this defense as he gets better and adjusts to everything that Mike Macdonald's going to ask him to do. At 96, Jesse Bates, one of the most impactful free agent signings in the league over the last 2 years. The problem has just been that the team hasn't been good enough to pay that off. And by the way, the Bengals have still been searching for a playmaker half as good as Jesse Bates to add to their defense. We're getting down to it now. Just a couple names left. Is your favorite player going to land on this list? Well, if your favorite player is Devontae Adams, he's here right now, 97 on the list. And I think you could make the case he belongs much higher. And I think you can make a straightforward case he will be much higher on this list next year. Matthew Stafford, if Devontae Adams stays healthy, he's going to put up numbers in the NFC West. With Matthew Stafford, with Sean McVay, with Puka Nacua on the other side, this could be cinema. At 98, Derek Brown, defensive tackle, another one of those don't forget about me players in Carolina. And not only is he playing in Carolina for a team that has not been very good, but he plays a non-glamour position. Just plugging along as one of the best defensive tackles in the league. At 99, I think he's about 20 spots too low. Danielle Hunter. Danielle Hunter here, pass rusher. He is one of the candidates. When a pass rusher comes out and you go, well, they didn't produce in college, they can't be a good NFL player. You go, no, Danielle Hunter, who has been just, one of the most productive pass rushers in the league since he's been in the league. And our last guy, you may remember him from DK Metcalf hawking him down from behind off an interception, but he is a Swiss Army knife for the Arizona Cardinals. Budda Baker is the 100th player on the Locked On Top 100. Some players who just missed out. Vita Vea from the Bucks, Zach Tom from the Packers, Josh Jacobs from the Packers, Jalen Johnson from the Bears, Minka Fitzpatrick from he was on the Steelers. Now he's on the Miami Dolphins. Marlon Humphrey from the Ravens, George Karlaftis from the Chiefs, Brian Thomas Jr. from the Jaguars, Kyler Murray from the Cardinals, Ashton Genty, another player who has not played a snap in the NFL, and DK Metcalf. Now you've seen the list. Go check out your favorite Locked On NFL show and join the conversation around your favorite team. Or check out another Locked On show and rile up their fan base in the comments section. If you like this list, we'll be doing a college football top 100, NBA, NHL, and MLB list coming soon. So make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports today. Make sure you don't miss anything. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.